Good evening, brother and sister in the Dhamma. Thank you for coming for this talk. Before we start the talk, I would like to introduce Bhante to everyone. Bhante Dr. S. Pemaratana. He is the Chief Abbot of the Pittsburgh Buddhist Center in USA. Bhante holds a bachelor degree in Buddhist Studies from the Peradeniya University of Sri Lanka, a master's in philosophy from the National University of Singapore, and a PhD from the University of Pittsburgh. Bhante conducts regular workshops on meditation at his center and at yoga studios in the greater Pittsburgh area. Bhante also provides spiritual counseling to help Americans deal with the challenges of modern living. Tonight, we are very fortunate to have invited Bhante Dr. Pemaratana to give us a Dhamma talk on the theme of dana. Many people may think that dana is giving material things like money and so forth. But giving your service in caring for others is also dana. So how to care for yourself in order to be able to care for others? So let Bhante explain to us how to balance self-care and caring for others. Bhante, please.
Brother, can you help us? Can you put wire on this side? No. Okay, good. Can you all hear me? How about the back? Yes. So, first of all, I pay my homage and tribute to Triple Gem, to the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddhang Vandami, Dhammang Vandami, Sanghang Vandami. So, dear friends in the Dhamma, it's a great pleasure for me to be here in the Mangala Vihara and then be part of this Dhamma study series and to give a Dhamma talk. And I especially want to thank Sister Lily for inviting me for this talk. Maybe I will hold. Yeah, maybe I'll hold. Yeah. How about now? Can you hear me now? Yeah. So do I have to hold it? Maybe I'll hold it. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Yes. So I remember in 2018, when I visited Singapore, and Sister Lily also invited me to give this Dhamma talk, and that was the first time that I gave this talk exactly in this hall. But I think even before that, when I was studying here at NUS, I used to come to Pali and Buddhist College and just taught one semester. So I was a former teacher during that time. That is, a long time ago. But it's a great pleasure how you continue this Dhamma studies, education in the Dhamma, and learning and practicing the Dhamma. So today I would like to discuss this theme on balancing the self-care and caring for others, which is a very important art of balance that we all have to learn in order to live our lives. Because the teachings of the Buddha have a lot of guidance for us to maintain this balance and then continue our practice. If we don't know how to balance this, and then we will either be exhausted when you care only for others, and you'll be so exhausted and you will not be able to continue your service. And if you only care for yourself, and then you'll be very self-centered person, and you will not progress in your practice. So therefore, it's really important, and we have to strike this balance in our life. So we have a lot of emphasis on dana, on being generosity, because the whole Buddhist practice is aiming us to transform ourselves, particularly to transform our defilements, and develop wholesome opposite qualities. As ordinary human beings and as beings in the samsara, we are driven by three main defilements, three main categories of defilements. I hope that you all are familiar with that. So we are driven by what we call lobha. You can translate as greed, but mainly like wanting more. And the other defilement is hatred, which is your resentment, your dislike, and you want to get rid of. And then the most profound defilements is moha, which is mainly confusion or delusion or belief on a permanent self and the division of oneself and others. So we are driven by these main defilements. So the whole aim of our Buddhist practice is to recognize these main motives, main defilements, and transform them into a wholesome, the opposite qualities, which is generosity, opposite to greed, and then loving kindness, opposite to hatred, and then wisdom, which is opposite to delusion. So as a start of our spiritual practice, so generosity, or being generous, sharing, and it's a very important part of our practice, because it directly addresses our tendency to hold, tendency to keep, tendency to own. So there's an important term, a Pali phrase called jine kadaryang danena. The kadaryang is a term for stinginess. So how to win the stinginess? How to win the stinginess is by giving. So win your stinginess by giving. It's a very difficult practice to do at the beginning. Let's say you have special desire for something. Maybe you like something really, really well. And so in order win your, in order to win yourself against the stinginess, you try to give the thing that you really like the most. Not an easy thing. At the beginning, it will be like a battle, but once you have done it, you will experience a whole different kind of happiness, whole different kind of fulfillment. So sometimes when I receive some gifts, so I like certain gifts, I may not like certain other gifts. So usually we give away the gifts that we don't like, right? But I have tried one time, I have tried many times, like give away the gifts that I like the most. I like the most, this exactly color that I like exactly, the thing that I want, and you really like to have it. But I have contemplated that before I get that gift, I had no idea about that gift. I had no desire, nothing. But once I, get this gift, now I really like it. I really want to keep it. I really want to protect it. I don't like others touching it. Before that, I had no such issue before I get that gift. But once I get that gift, now I have all this, wanting and attachment and desire. I was thinking, what has happened to me? Before this gift, I didn't have any of such issue. So as a way of training the mind, I determined, okay, I'm going to give away this. So I wait for someone who need it, and then I have given it away and donated it. Which is very difficult because exactly the thing that I want. But with courage, with strength, once you have given it away, then you have a whole different kind of fulfillment, satisfaction, and feeling of victory. Feeling of victory. And you have kind of weaken the power of that defilements. You have weakened it. It's in a different way kind of achievement because we have weakened that tendency to hold and attach. So therefore, the act of generosity, act of sharing is a very important part of Buddhist practice. But of course, ultimately, we'll be able to get rid of our greed once we completely get rid of our delusion. Because the whole greed and hatred is powerful, is active because of our deluded idea about the permanent things. Once you realize that there's actually no permanent things to even to own, and then you automatically uproot the greed. But before that, we had to weaken the greediness. We had to weaken it, and then only we can really go into deep wisdom and then uproot it. But in order to weaken, it's important to have generosity, generous act. So therefore, the Buddha has advised and recommended and praised being act of generosity. And so we have two terms in Pali to refer to this generosity. One is dana, which is more popular term, means giving. The other term is called chaga, which also stands for giving. But these two terms stand for two aspects of this act of giving. Dana is outward act of giving. You're benefiting someone, and you are helping someone and giving. Chaga is actually, literal meaning of chaga is letting go, relinquishing, letting go of the ownership. And so chaga refers to internal aspect of this act of giving. Dana refers to more like external form. You are helping someone. And when we are doing act of dana, act of giving, what happens within our mind is chaga, this relinquishment, this letting go or loosening the grip to things. That's called chaga. So that's the kind of transformation that we are aiming at when we do act of dana. So that's why sometimes we have to try to give the things that we like the most and experience that relinquishment and that freedom. And so that's part of dana too. So Buddha has advised us, actually there's one important discourse in Anguttara Nikaya, the numerical discourses, where Buddha has advised us to be like a cloud. Be like a cloud. When it comes to giving, be like a cloud, which means that sometimes there are clouds which are very heavy, even sometimes make sounds, but does not give rain. But sometimes there are clouds which can be really heavy, which can really rains heavily. So some rains doesn't have sound, doesn't give, and some clouds have sound and also really pouring, and some clouds may have sounds but may not pouring. But Buddha has advised us to be like a cloud, because when the cloud rains, it doesn't care, it doesn't discriminate anyone, just pour in the water to like filling all the, all the whole places. So when it comes to giving, whenever you get an opportunity, do not try to think. Do not try to think too much about what's going to happen to this gift. If I give to this person or that person, just be like a cloud and practice. Grab the opportunity and then be like a cloud. So there are so much emphasis on that. But I think it's also not only giving our material gifts, but also there are many forms of giving. And one important other giving is giving of our attention, and giving our care, and giving our time, giving our labor and service. It's also giving. So if you do not have much things to give, material things, but we can give our time. We can give our labor, physical labor and mental labor, and we can give our attention, our care. Sometimes people may not need much material things, but sometimes they may need some care, someone to listen to. So that's also giving. So there are so many ways to give. But we had to do it as a part of our spiritual path, part of our spiritual practice, as a way to transform our tendency to have this greed, as a way of overcoming it, as a way of weakening that tendency. So there's one interesting statement by the Buddha. Buddha said that if people know the spiritual benefit of giving as I know, because Buddha knew it to the fullest, right? So Buddha said that if people know the benefits of giving as I do, no one will eat a single meal without sharing a portion of it. That's a statement of the Buddha in the Iti Buddhaka. If people know the spiritual benefit of giving as I do, no one will eat a meal without sharing a portion of it, because it's that beneficial. So there's such emphasis on giving, and of course also on compassion. Like compassion means being sensitive to others' suffering and wanting to help people to get rid of the suffering, and empathizing with others' pain and suffering, and doing whatever we can to help them to get rid of that suffering. So compassion, karuna. So there's so much emphasis on giving, or dana, or chaga, and then karuna. So then, because of this emphasis, sometimes we may get a misunderstanding that our whole practice is simply giving, and always focusing on others' needs, and always be like a cloud, and then exhaust all your resources and don't worry about your own need. That could be a kind of extreme that we will go when you only focus on giving and compassion. So that is why we need some balancing act. How we can practice generosity, practice compassion, without sacrificing our own spiritual growth and caring for oneself. So then we have to learn the other teachings of the Buddha, where Buddha has given us teachings on focusing on our spiritual well-being. And for that, we need to have more attention to ourselves. So, for example, we have teachings like be a lamp to oneself, and no one will save us, only oneself will save us, right? And Buddha also has said in Dhammapada that no matter how we should never sacrifice our own spiritual well-being for the benefit of others, no matter how big is that benefit. So therefore we have that advice from the Buddha. So how to find this balance? How we can focus on our own spiritual well-being, how we can be a lamp to ourselves, and then how we can do our practice in a way that we will not sacrifice our spiritual well-being, no matter what kind of big benefit that we can do for others. So I'm going to give you a few scenarios for you to make a decision. I'd like to give you a few scenarios, and you have to make a decision whether it's a good decision or not. Okay. So scenario number one. So one day, let's say Sunday is your off day, and you had made plans on that Sunday that you want to buy some new clothes. So you made some plans to go for shopping to buy new clothes for you on that Sunday. So you plan ahead, you organize everything, and you are now waiting for that Sunday to come. So Sunday morning you get a call from your friend that he or she needs a ride to see the doctor. He has a doctor's appointment and this person cannot drive, or maybe not allowed to drive. So that friend called you and asked your help to come and help him or her to go to see the doctor. So now you have to, whether to go for shopping to buy my clothes, or to go to help this friend. What you would do? Yeah. So I think helping the friend will be the best thing to do at that time. You can sacrifice your shopping planning, and then you can go and help. So if someone make that decision to cancel the plan to buy clothes and then help the friend, and do you agree that decision? Okay. So sacrificing that need to help someone to see a doctor is a good decision. Okay, scenario number 2. Okay, let's say you really wanted to pay attention to your health, and you really wanted to start healthy eating, and you want to cleanse yourself. You want to have a detox, detox your body. So you made an appointment with a person who knows about this, bad food, good food, and the detoxing techniques. So that person is so busy, and then finally you managed to get a date. You made an appointment to meet this specialist to know about this detoxing, detox plan. And then you get a call from your classmates, your school classmates. They have organized a party on that same day, and they really want you to go there. On the same day, after a few weeks, you somehow finally managed to get this appointment with this person to take care of your health, and now your friends, your good friends, your old friends, your schoolmates, they really want to get together and update themselves, and they have this meeting and the party. They invite you to come. So now you have to make a decision whether to go to this appointment or whether to go and see your friends. So this person made a decision to call and cancel that appointment and go to the friends get together. And do you agree? Yeah, you can have many opinions. Okay, scenario number 3. This will be easier. Let's see. I don't know. So you really want to learn meditation. You have learned meditation. You really want to practice. And you came to know about this meditation retreat, and a good teacher is coming, and you really want to make use of this opportunity to learn meditation. So sign up for this meditation retreat. Okay, so you already planned. You inform family, everyone, so you are preparing for this meditation. Okay, and then you get a call that your family members are planning a family trip. Family trip to Bangkok, let's say. And so everyone in the family has agreed to come. Now you are the only one who still want your response. and they invite you to come to go this trip, family trip. After many years, they are going there. So on the same weekend that you have signed up for the meditation retreat. So these are the things that you have to make decisions, right, every day. So how to make the decision? You have this, meditation program. So are you attending the meditation program, or are you going with your family for this family trip? If the person cancel the meditation retreat and decide to go for the family trip, do you agree? Anyway, so sacrificing opportunity to meditate, to entertain the family, I don't know. It's person's priority, right? So anyway, so these are the kind of situations that we face every day in our life. So I would say that always one extreme will be always try to focus and try to please others, and always try to be helpful whenever you can. The other extreme would be to be so self-focused, only focus on one's own benefit and don't care of others. So this will be two extremes. And the most successful person would be who can actually strike the balance. Let's say one extreme is only focusing on one's needs and do not care about others. You only need to achieve your needs. And the other would be always sacrificing your need for others and always try to other people happy. And these will be two extremes, but there's a midpoint. We will be in different place in this spectrum. And more closer you are to the midpoint, the more successful your life going to be. I don't know where you are in this spectrum, whether you are more to the self-focus, whether you are more to the focusing on others. But we have to try to come to the midpoint, closer to the midpoint. So then only we can really continue our life. Otherwise, if you are to the extreme of always caring for others and pleasing others, you'll be very surely exhausted and ultimately will become so resentful, so angry, and at the end, and maybe you will give up helping others. And if you're only focusing on your need and only focusing on your own priorities, and then you'll become such a selfish person, and you'll not be able to progress on your path. So then we had to develop this wisdom how to balance this, how to strike this balance. So I think one guidelines will be to distinguish difference between being selfish and self-care. What is the difference between selfishness and self-care? And if you understand that, that can help us to make decisions, right? So being selfish and being self-care. Sometimes caring for oneself, people tend to interpret caring for oneself as being selfish. Sometimes when we have to say no to your friend's request, you are afraid of saying no because you think that is being selfish. But what is the difference between being selfish and caring for oneself? Being selfish is actually always think, what is there for me in this meeting? What is there for me? And focusing on what I can get for me, and always having that focus. But self-care is actually how I can be the best, that I have more energy to help others later. So how can I be the best version of myself? It is caring for oneself. How can I be the best version of myself? It's focusing on oneself. But the more you become better and better in your own skills, in your own health, in your own spiritual virtues, automatically you will benefit others. So the being selfish is actually focusing on the material benefits and focusing on one's material need, but self-care is actually focusing on one's health and one's spiritual needs. And then focusing on how I can be the best version of myself. It's focusing on oneself, but you are trying, your focus is to transform yourself to be a better and better person in terms of your spiritual qualities and also in terms of your health. So that can help us. So sometimes, in order for us to have real self-care, you really need to look into yourself. You really need to understand your own weaknesses. You really need to understand what is my dominant defilement. Each person has a dominant defilement. Of course, meditation teachers, when they guide students, they will focus, they will observe the students and understand what is the dominant defilement in this person. And they will recommend appropriate meditation to counter those dominant defilements. So we have like a raga charita, the character dominated by lust. We have dosa charita, character dominated by hatred. We have, vitarga charita, character dominated by too much of thinking, right? And of course, sometimes we call saddha charita, the character dominated by faith. So in Visuddhimagga, we have this, description of 6 character types and then sub-characters. So anyway, so each person has a dominant defilement. So we have to be aware of that. We have to make an effort to observe our own behavior, observe our own urges, and to notice and be familiar with that. This is my dominant disciples. I am more to greed, sometimes our dominant defilements is maybe towards the lust, towards like greed. Sometimes maybe to the other direction, which is maybe to always have some kind of conflict and then have hatred dominant. So we need to recognize that. In order to recognize that, we need to be honest with ourselves and we need to watch our own mind. So sometimes focusing on ourselves and recognizing it and noticing our own defilements, in other terms, our own ugliness, is not easy. It's not easy. It's not pleasant either to look into one's own ugliness, which is a very important step for us to have purification. But sometimes we are so afraid of looking at ourselves. And sometimes we are not courageous enough to look into ourselves. And therefore, as a way of distracting ourselves, and we just focus on helping others. So sometimes some people actually focus on helping others, going out and helping and volunteering and doing all kind of good things, which is a good thing. But we need to be careful. Sometimes we are doing it as a way of distracting ourselves because we don't like to look into ourselves. So we need to really be careful on that. Always helping is good, always. But sometimes because we are not courageous enough, we are not ready enough, we are not, compassionate to ourselves. And therefore, instead of looking at our own issues and our problems, we go out and try to help others and try to help others to solve their problems. And then we can hide our own problems. We can distract ourselves from addressing our own issues. So therefore, the self-care requires certain courage. But actually, if you start to look into our own defilements and start to work on that, and that self-care is actually giving us more energy to help others. And so the self-care is actually the foundation of helping others. And if you don't have that attention, that orientation, that priority, we may be just going around and helping others. but we will not make it a part of our spiritual practice. And also after a while, we become so exhausted. And this is happening mainly among our family environment. If you're always giving, you sacrifice your need, you always want to feed others, you don't want to eat for yourself, you always want to help others, you always sacrifice your time for others, and you may keep doing it, and you will not share your own concerns. You will not share your own needs with others. You simply hide this. You simply hide your needs, and you just keep fulfilling others' needs. But there's a point that you will collapse. And you can't continue that. And in that moment, you become so aggressive, so disappointed, and you become a really ugly version of yourself because you have been hiding and avoiding your needs. Your needs are not fulfilled. Your physical needs are not fulfilled. Your emotional needs are not fulfilled because you always sacrifice that for others. And there's a point that you become exhausted, and then you become the really ugly version of yourself. And you will become a completely different person. We don't want to go there. So therefore, we had to have the courage, we had to have that self-concern, self-compassion, that if you have a real need, and you can express it in a kind way, and you can address it, and you can get the approval from others to take care of that need. And if you don't eat, for example, how you can cook food for others? Can you keep cooking for others without eating? Sometimes we do it, but that's not the wise way to do it. So therefore, Buddha has recommended us to pay attention to our spiritual growth, pay attention to our health. When it comes to our health, physical and spiritual health, there are two aspects, right? Physical health, which is our physical well-being. Spiritual health is the wholesomeness that we can develop and also defilements that we can get rid of. When it comes to physical and health and spiritual health, you can sacrifice any other needs of others when it comes to your own physical health needs and your spiritual health needs. That has to be your priority. Because the more you pay attention to your physical health, more you pay attention to your spiritual health, and that allows you for you to be more helpful to others, maybe later. But that's the way to go. I think maybe you know that when you are flying in the aeroplane, when you get the safety instructions, right? And that's, people don't pay much attention to that, right? That has become so standard and people don't pay attention. But I think in that, a safety demonstration, safety instruction, they always tell you, in the case of emergency, there will be a oxygen mask. And then, so please help yourself before you're helping others. Because as of compassionate beings, as generous beings, when such thing happen, particularly if you are traveling with your family, you will definitely try to help others, before you help yourself. But that's not going to be effective. If you don't help yourself, you can't help others. If you don't put your mask first, you will not be able to even help others. But putting your own mask is not selfish. It is self-care. Because once you put your own mask, then you are strong to help all others. If you lose it, and you will not be able to help others long. So that's a good example for us to remember. When it comes to our physical health and spiritual health, that too has to be the priority. And you can sacrifice any other needs of others. Could be a family trip, could be your friends gathering, could be invitation for dinner, whatever. And you can sacrifice any of those things if going there has to be done at the expense of your own health needs and your spiritual needs, and you can sacrifice all other needs. And of course, sometimes people will get upset with you, but that's okay. That's okay, because eventually you'll be able to help them more. Because once you take care of your own spiritual health and physical health, and you'll be more equipped to help others. Otherwise, you will not get more opportunities to help them later. So therefore, there's one interesting other simile given by the Buddha for us to understand the importance of paying attention to our own spiritual health. And this simile is found in the Sangyutta Nikaya, the connected discourses of the Buddha. There, and this sutta is called Sayadaka Sutta. Sayadaka is the name of the city where Buddha gave this teaching. And so Buddha was giving instruction to a group of monks. And then Buddha gave a simile. Buddha was talking about an acrobat. Have you seen acrobat? Yeah, acrobat. And Buddha, maybe in that city there were acrobats. Yeah. So Buddha was giving this acrobat. Buddha said that monks, at one time there was two acrobats. One is a senior master, the other one is an assistant. Assistant is a young girl. So the acrobat is actually a bamboo acrobat. This the senior master will hold a bamboo pole on his shoulder. The young girl will climb the bamboo pole, and on the top she will show all kinds of tricks, and then balancing the weight on the top of the bamboo pole. So then they will show this craft to the people, and they will collect money. So Buddha said that one day this senior master asked this young assistant, okay, now I'm taking the bamboo pole to my shoulder, so come, dear assistant, climb this bamboo pole and go to the top of the bamboo pole, and I will watch you. You watch me. Okay? Because this has to be balancing, right? You have to balance this whole thing, because if you lose the balance, and girl will be in big trouble. So you watch me, I watch you. You look after me, I look after you. And if you do it correctly, we'll be able to show our craft, we'll be able to earn enough money, you will be able to be safe in our performance. So the advice from the senior master is that I watch you, you watch me. I look after you, you look after me. So if we can watch each other, we'll be able to do well. Sounds good, right? And then Buddha said that when the senior master told this young girl, this advice, you watch me, I watch you, and by watching each other, we'll be able to perform well. But the young acrobat, young girl assistant said that, Master, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. I will look after myself. You will look after yourself. And you watch yourself, I watch myself. By watching oneself, we'll be able to do a better job. And that's how we have to do this. Which means that I will pay attention to my own performance. I will make sure that I will maintain my balance. And you better watch your balance. You don't worry about me. So the young assistant have a whole completely new perspective of this whole performance. And say that you look after yourself, I will look after myself. And by looking after oneself, we will be able to do a better job. And so Buddha is just telling the monks, this is the conversation happen. And Buddha said that, I approve the advice from the young assistant. Because this also kind of, maybe another way, there's another meaning to this, because the senior master is representing the orthodox teaching, like a traditional teachings. Like the Buddha, appeared as, as a part of the Shramana movement, like providing new alternative views of the world. And so in that situation, the Vedic tradition is more like an orthodox standard, teaching, mainstream teaching, and the teachings of all the ascetics are the more, modern, maybe alternative teachings. So Buddha approved the assistant advice, and Buddha said that monks, just like that assistant suggested to the master, I advise you to look after yourself. in order to look at yourself, practice 4 foundations of mindfulness. And that's the Buddha's advice. Because in the 4 foundations of mindfulness, you pay attention to yourself, not to others. You pay attention to your own body. One foundation is the body. You pay attention to your own body, your postures, your movements, and of course the parts of the body. So the body is the focus of attention. You pay attention to your own Vedana, your sensations, your feelings. You pay attention to your own status of the mind, different mind states. And then you pay attention to your mental qualities, with defilements and wholesome qualities. So those are the 4 foundations of mindfulness. Mainly, pay attention to your own body and mind. So just like the advice, suggestion from the assistant, I advise you monks to pay attention to yourself. And Buddha said that by following the 4 foundations of mindfulness, you take care of yourself. But then, as a result, you will also look after others too. Because Buddha said that once you look after yourself, focusing on 4 foundations of mindfulness, and you automatically look after others, you automatically benefit others. And Buddha said how you can benefit others? Because by practicing 4 foundations of mindfulness, you're careful of your speech, you're careful of your behavior, you weaken your defilements. As a result, your all interactions, your all engagement with others will be beneficial to others. And then ultimately, Buddha said that actually benefiting others and benefiting oneself is the same. Buddha said that if you practice compassion, non-violence, patience to benefit others, you become patient to be in harmony with others. You patient, you bear the others' weaknesses, other mistakes, and that's to help others. But it's also helping yourself because you are improving your own virtues. So being compassionate, being patient to others, also in a way growing our own spiritual virtues. So benefiting others result in benefiting yourself. And benefiting oneself in a spiritual way, like practicing 4 foundations of mindfulness, is also helping others. So ultimately, there is no dichotomy between benefiting oneself and benefiting others. But when it comes to balancing the self-care and care for others, remember this acrobat story, the simile given by the Buddha. And if you maintain your balance, then only you can help others. It's just like being a very strong tree. If you like a tree, you first you have to stable yourself. You have to be rooted yourself. You have to have strong roots. You are already firm. And then you can spread your branches to all directions and keep helping all others. If you don't have a strong foundation, you cannot really help others. So, following the advice of the Buddha, I think we have to make sure that we spend enough time for our own spiritual needs and also for our own physical health. So allocate yourself a time of your day that you don't pay attention to others. It is not selfish. Allocate few minutes a day that you will be yourself and you will do a chanting, you will do a recitation, you will do a short meditation. You can just be with the Buddha. You can let your family, and I have my personal time every day. In 24 hours, I have 30 minutes for myself. Maybe whatever the time. But I think allocating a time every day to take care of your own mind is very important. You may have to sacrifice, your caring for others at that time, your family. But taking that time off and taking care of your mind for that 30 minutes give you enough strength and energy to take care of others later. So don't think that it is being selfish, but it's actually the wise thing to do. So every day we have to have that time for ourselves, to that we spend some time to take care of ourselves. And also, it's also important to, whenever you need to help others, it's really important to evaluate all the capacity that you have. Your time, your energy, your resources. Do I have the time? Do I have the resources to help others? Sometimes, others request, others, make requests. But you have to evaluate your capacities. If you find that your capacities are not enough, it's okay to say no. Rather than saying yes and committing and not being able to fully fulfill, your promises is bad. Then, telling them out front that, that I'm not able to do it. So sometimes we think that saying no is very bad, being selfish. But sometimes not. Actually saying no, being honest, not being selfish, but being honest that you don't have enough capacity, resources, and time to do it, saying no can actually help them to explore other opportunities. If we say yes, and they will stop seeking other help, and they will rely on you. And once you cannot fulfill that, it's not really helping them. Right? Sometimes saying no is more helpful than overcommitting. So that is how we can balance our self-care, and also setting boundaries. Setting boundaries that what kind of help we can do. Sometimes setting boundaries means our priority is our physical health and our spiritual health, and then whatever the request that you have to sacrifice your health and your spiritual health, and you have to say no. Let's say you have commitment to come to temple, doing this chanting and meditation, and come to this Dhamma talk. For example, you had made a decision to come to this Dhamma talk, and one friend called you, I'm going to this new restaurant, would you like to come and try with me? And so what you want to sacrifice? It's good to go and reconnect with your friend, but you have to sacrifice your spiritual need to go with the friend. So you have to make a decision. And if you are a best friend, you should encourage your friend to come to Dhamma talk instead of going to that dinner. Right? That will be the best help we can do. So both will benefit, immensely. So anyway, so sometimes it's okay to say no. The other important part that we can learn is actually sometimes we sacrifice so much for others, particularly to our family and friends, because when we see suffering in others, pain in others, sometimes we feel responsible for others' suffering. This is happening in our life sometimes. If our family members, our friends are suffering, somehow we feel that we feel responsible for it. But of course, as compassionate being, as Buddhists, we have to have empathy. We have to help others. But we need to understand that everyone has their own karma. Everyone has their own life. Although they are our children, although they are our parents, although they are our relatives, although they are our friends, ultimately, we have our own journey. We have our own karma. So sometimes when others are suffering, we may be part of that. We may be partly responsible, but we are not fully responsible for others' problems. It's okay to go out and help, but feeling responsible for others' problems is completely different from going out and helping them and being compassionate. Being compassionate to others is not feeling guilt and feeling responsible for others' problems and suffering. So each individual has their own journey. We are there to help, and we will do whatever help we can do, but sometimes there are always limitations, how much we can help. We cannot really fully save other beings. There's no way. We can be helpful, but how much help they want from us is up to them. So we have to understand the limitation. The equanimity, so is the important quality we have to develop. If you only have compassion, you'll be exhausted, you'll be always feel unhappy, you'll always feel, I haven't done enough. But equanimity the upekkha is the other quality that can balance, that can help us. So sometimes there are always limitations how much we can help others. Sometimes we have to accept. Each person has to come their own journey. Each person has to come to their own understanding. We can only be helpful. We can't change others. We cannot solve everyone's problem. So understanding that can help us to pay more attention to our own spiritual health and then be more helpful to others. So I think you will remember the Buddha's simile on acrobat and always be generous. Be generous and be always try to relinquish our grip, our attachment to things, and practice generosity whenever you can, but make it as a part of our spiritual path. But self-care or caring for oneself is actually the foundation for caring for others. So make sure that you will never sacrifice your physical health and your spiritual health, anything that has to be that is connected with your spiritual well-being. Never sacrifice that to someone else's need, because all other needs are secondary. So Buddha said that for the sake of another benefit, however great it may be, do not neglect one's own spiritual benefit. That's in the Dhammapada. So I hope that you will be able to maintain this balance and continue to help others while also taking care of your own spiritual and health needs. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, now we can have some question time.
Bhante, for example, we are doing some charity work. That organization, they can give us 10 packets to be distributed. But I want to ask for 20. So
Ask for?
20
20, yeah.
boxes. So in this way, is there any loba?
Any?
Loba. Grits.
Loba.
in this
Why do you need 20?
Because I want to get more for the distributing.
Yeah, distribution. You want to help more people.
Yes.
So no greed.
But the organization say can only give me 10 boxes. By asking whether can give me 20.
Yeah, if maybe they have more. Because organization also want to help others, so they are using you, like they are asking you to help distribute this, right? So if you know 20 people who can benefit from this, you only have 10. Why not? No harm of asking. Yeah, I think maybe you're asking that because you have like a desire to help others. Like, so is a desire to help others is a form of greed. Is that the question? That yeah. Because desire to help others. I want to help more people, not 10. 10 is not enough. I want to help 100 people, right? Is that desire to help others is a form of greed. Yeah. I think as long as our wanting, our interest, our desire is not self-focused, it's not bad. So therefore, actually, we have an important term in Pali called chanda. So the Pali term for like selfish desire is lobha, like wanting more to oneself, want to drag, want to like bring closer to oneself. That is lobha. But chanda is a very important term in Pali. It's a neutral term. Chanda means interest, willingness. So chanda can become a spiritual power. Chanda and then virya, effort. So for us to have a spiritual development, first we have to have interest. We have to have some willingness. We have to be inspired by the enlightened beings. We have to, at least we have to have some interest to spiritually evolve. And then we put effort, virya. And then we maintain the effort, chitta, determination. And we have to always re-evaluate whether we are doing the right thing. So those 4 practices, chanda, virya, chitta, vimamsa, we call it, 4 spiritual four bases of spiritual power. So even for us to develop in our meditation, we have to have chanda. It's not lobha. It's slightly different from, it's like, of course, liking something, but it's more like interest of changing oneself instead of, getting rid of the defilements, instead of interest of benefiting others. So as long as it's not related to most, selfish, need, it's not unwholesome. It's wholesome. So we can ask for 100 if you can have.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
I have this problem because I want to give, every time on the street or when we go to a coffee shop, we have people come and ask for money. I want to give, but yet I'm afraid that these people may not be genuine people who have problem, but they may just conveniently want to take money for convenience sake. Yeah. So in that case, if I don't give, will it be selfish or does it, what do I do?
Yeah, I think it's a good question, brother, and I have, in the US also, there are a lot of, sometimes there are homeless people. So whenever you go to a city, particular city, when you stop in a traffic light, someone will come with a signboard, and, asking money. And so people are afraid, they are actual drug addicts, and so they will simply, take this money and then use for drugs, But I have seen one time, one homeless guy is holding a poster saying that, please give me a beer. He's very honest. I didn't ask you $5, give me a beer. So sometimes they are honest, So your question is that when these people come and request, whether they are actually genuinely asking or whether they are like exploiting, like making use of the opportunity, or whether they are simply lazy, and...
Or should I give or should I not? Should I give wholeheartedly even though they may be...
Let's say at that moment when someone is asking, if we have enough, I think no matter what is the receiver's, the motive, it is an opportunity for you to practice generosity. Too much focusing on what others may do it afterwards is beyond our concern. We have to simply use that opportunity to give. Once you give, you just give away. Don't worry about what they're going to do with that. If you still worry about what they're going to do with your money, you haven't really given it away. Right? So sometimes people offer, gifts to monks, right? They offer, some tools or some, maybe, something. So then next day they come and see whether the Bhante is using that. Ask, Bhante, what happened? What happened to gift I gave you? So that means actually they haven't really given it away. So if anyone come and ask, if you have, just give it away and use it as your own practice. Whatever they are going to do with that is up to them. If they use it for proper way, and that is for their good. If they use it in improper way, that's their bad karma. And it's up to them. But once you give away, just be happy and give it away. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good
evening.
Yeah, similar to just now the brother's question. If the person that asks money we suspect is a scammer. That means I heard story that some, like example, the children without hands and legs maybe it's a syndicate, like a criminal syndicates that catch children to, for make use of people's compassion. So if you continue to help them,
that's a different situation. Maybe if you go to like some poor countries and some places, so they sometimes they bring children, and they make use of small children to like get money. So yeah, I think that's a whole different situation, brother. You know, if in a coffee shop, if someone come and ask, I think we can simply use, if we have enough, and we can use it as an opportunity to be generous and just give away. But let's say if you suspect that it's more like a project, like planned, more organized kind of business, then we have to be very careful. Yeah, and then because then we are simply supporting that exploitation of children. So if we I don't know, I mean, the problem is that we only can suspect. It can be genuine, it can be, suspicious. So, and how we can make that decision, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's very hard to.
Very, very hard, very hard. But I think, maybe it's very hard sometimes. But if you feel genuine, just give away, I think, because I think be in a position, if someone come and ask, and if we had to be, grateful to the fact that, I'm not the person who's asking, I'm the person who's receiving the request. So be in that side is such a blessed position, right? So let's say if they ask money, and if maybe as a way to not to help, not to promote such a business if they are doing it, instead of giving money, maybe we can actually give them something that they're really useful. Maybe buy milk for that baby, and give something that they really need, that the baby need, rather than money. Because if you give money, then that can be used for many other things, right? So maybe that will be the wise thing to do, right? And you really want to help that, family of that person or that baby, just give what they really need.
Okay, thank you, Bhante.
Bhante, I have a question. Can Bhante elaborate on chaga, letting go, can mean non-attachment. So does it mean non-attachment, does it mean that we don't care? For example, somebody asks, do not have attachment to your family member. Does it mean that you don't care your family member? Thank you, Bhante.
So, usually when you talk about this attachment or letting go, and people have these questions, I think before we come to family members, there are so many other things that we have to let go. Don't hurry to let go of your family member. That's not the place you have to start. Right? First, we have to let go of our bad behavior, right? And then, if you have a bad habit, if you have unmindful speech, or a habit of, speaking harshly, you have a habit of, telling, lies, and you have to first let go of the bad behavior. Actually, Buddha has given a very interesting simile how we purify a gold. How we purify a gold, and first we have to purify the more rough dirt in the gold, and if you know about the gold industry, that's how they first remove the very what do you call the outer, more rough dirt. So Buddha said that the rough dirt is like our bad behavior. That's what we have to get rid of first. And then Buddha said that next you have to get rid of the medium type of dirt in the gold. So there's another technique to get rid of that. So that means getting rid of our hindrances. And the only way it comes to more refined form of dirt, which is more like a very kind of dust. And Buddha said that is your feeling with regard to the country, your feeling with regard to your clan, your family, and that's the fine kind of dirt you need to get rid. That comes in quite advanced in a spiritual practice. So first we have to get rid of so many of bad behavior, and then even as the sister mentioned, when it comes to our own family, let's say develop this let's say detachment to even to our family relationships, and also to like our feeling of, of clan or, country. But that doesn't mean that actually we are giving up, So letting go doesn't mean giving up or throwing away. So that means actually we change our relationship. So usually when it comes to family and friends and relatives, we have a sense of ownership and sense of control. And we want our family members to behave the way we like. And then we have this, we feel like I own them. So that's the wrong understanding. So when it comes to letting go of the family, what we are really letting go is not our relationship. It's actually our wrong belief of ownership and our control. So like, release the ownership. Our children are not ours. I mean, we think that because they came through us, we raised them up, and now we think that, like my hand, my finger, they are my children. But actually, if you think deeply, from the like according to the Dhamma, we all are individual sansaric beings. We are traveling through this sansara, and our children just happen to came through us in this life. Of course, we have utmost duty to raise them and give them the best life we can give them, but they are not ours. They are individual beings. We have to develop some respect. So the letting go of our attachment to our family means actually letting go of the sense of ownership, that a sense of control, and then you can still be in relationship. You give them the freedom. You give them the their own rights, so to speak. You still help. You're still in a relationship, but not in the sense of ownership. Even Buddha himself, of course, he renounced the family, right? He renounced his family. But, like last full moon was the, like Medin full moon was the day that Buddha returned to his family. After 9 months, he even didn't wait for 1 year. After he became enlightened and he started to teach, he developed a community. Within 9 months, it's like more than 200 kilometers from both Gaya to Kapilavastu. And he made that journey. It also took a few months. He started even before 9 months. He went back to his family. And his own son became a novice monk. He took the responsibility to raise his own son, but not as a son, but as a novice monk. So, of course, he went back to the family, but he already had renounced them, but there was a different relationship, not in the sense of, owning them or controlling them, but actually genuinely benefiting them. So I think we can, we don't have to start our letting go from our family. We can start, from our own bad behavior. But when it comes to the advanced level, even the letting go of the attachment to family doesn't mean that we are giving them up, we are running away, we are throwing them up. We are simply changing our relationship to them. We are simply renouncing our wrong sense of ownership. We don't really own them, we simply believe that we own them. We just simply let go of the wrong belief, and we still be with them and help them and accept who they are. Yeah. Thank you, sister, for that question.
Thank you, Bhante, for answering that question.
Bhante, I have a question with regards to our family. Given that, most of us, our parents are getting old, and some of them might be sick, right? And perhaps some may be even approaching end of life. So, of course, here in Asia, we practice filial piety. We try our best to look after them. But at certain point in life, as they get older, it's getting harder and harder to look after them. And of course, most of us, we are lay people. We have our own commitments and our own duties, right? So of course, there's this balancing that we need to do. How do we continue to love them. We are not giving up on them, right? But then the question, of course, is how, at certain point in time, right, of course in modern society, in Western or even in Singapore, there's this hospice facility and so on. But I'm just thinking, when we as a children, if we are to one day put our family members in such a facility, even though we feel that they are the better place given the medical facilities are better than at home, but of course there's also this part of ourselves whereby there's a bit of sense of guilt, right? So I'm just thinking that how do we do our best as our children, but at the same time not having to deal with the guilt? Thank you, Bhante.
Brother, that's a really difficult question. Yeah, I mean, I can give you suggestions, but when it comes to real issue, it's not that easy. I can just talk now, but when I really face the real situation, it's not that easy. But let's try to be familiar with, what kind of guidelines we can learn from the wisdom of the Buddha, to make the right decision at that time. Yeah, I think. In a way, actually, this the medical advancement that we have done as human civilization has really prolonged our lifespan, and it has benefited a lot, and it has also improved the quality of life. But at the same time, this medical advancement also have created a lot of dilemma for us, and like a previous century, people didn't have any of this problem, right? They didn't have any problem. They just let nature to take care of it, So we simply accept the nature. But now we have this ability to intervene the natural process, and then we start intervening in well advanced, and then we have all these issues. So I think it's really important for parents to express their willingness before they really get sick. If you have children, make sure that you write or maybe tell them clearly what you want. Do you want to be in a machine? Do you like to be in hospice, or do you like to be in more physical pain but still be in the home environment? What do you like? So really important if parents can clearly spell it out before they really get sick. It's really it makes much easier for children to make a decision. So then they know, what my parents want. So let's say if they like to be in hospice, okay, we do that. And if they have willingness rather to be at home, maybe physical pain, but it's still in the comfortable environment mentally, and maybe you do this. So I think it's not up to children, actually, it's up to the parents. So do it. And do what you like, just say it, do it, and write it down, and inform your children. It makes much easier for them.
If now we have another extreme, somebody who does not want to have gifts, do not want to have your dana, what do we do with? How do we help such a person?
Yes. Yes, brother, actually, yeah, you are correct. Actually, now because of this, tendency of individualism, in the capitalist, economy, capitalist culture, we develop this independence and, individualism. So from the childhood, we teach children to be independent, yeah. Of course, independence is a wrong concept. We are not independent at all. We are interdependent. Yeah. No one can be independent, so we are all relying on each other. But it's good to be responsible and take the responsibility on one's well-being. Because of that, there's upbringing. Sometimes we become so arrogant that we don't need anyone's help. So I think if someone is refusing anyone's help, it's okay to not to be a burden to others, but sometimes our life is always interdependent, dependent on others. We have been depending on others, no matter how strong, how independent you are. We are depending on our family, on our society, our social structure. So we are not that independent as we think. But sometimes, because of the arrogance that we develop, we may refuse help. So your question is how to help. How to help such a person? Not easy. Not easy, because it's a delusion, it's a delusion of, of that, arrogance. How to teach to be humble, I don't know, how to teach others, but maybe we can teach ourselves right now. Because sometimes we may come to that point too. Like sometimes we don't like to be a burden to our children. And actually, I met an old person like in Malaysia, and he's a very good, committed, prominent, Buddhist person. And then he recently got a stroke, and he's quite weak now. So when I went to visit him, he said that, Bhante, the last thing I want is to be a burden to my children. He said, I don't want to be bedridden. I don't want to be a burden to my children. I said, okay, but can you control it? Can we can we choose? We can't, right? But then I told him that, okay, maybe as a father, you don't want to be a burden to your children because you always take care of your children, but that's the father's mentality. But I told him, don't you think that if your children get some opportunity to serve you, to take care of you, isn't it fulfilling for them? Because as a monk, I have met so many children who lost their parents before they can actually, give their care and give their time for their parents, particularly during COVID time. Many parents passed away, so children couldn't really be around them. And now they have that feeling of like a lack. And they have this sometimes, that they have such a bad feeling. So I told him that, don't you think that being bedridden, at least for some time, is another way, giving an opportunity for your children to do a good deed? And it's good for them, because whenever you are gone, they feel like, okay, I spend time with, I care for my parents. I have given something to my parents. I have, given my time. So so they may not take it as a burden. So even though it's not a good feeling to be completely dependent on others, but on the other hand, it's actually giving an opportunity for others to do a good deed. Whether children do it or not is up to them, but you are giving. So maybe, we have to think, if we happen to be like that, don't feel upset. Don't feel, bad. Just think that I'm giving this opportunity for others to do merits, to do good deed, and later they will have some fulfillment. Think about, Ajahn Chah, the most famous meditation teacher. He was bedridden for more than 10 years. He was just lying there, but it gave an opportunity for so many other monks, so many other people. Of course, he was just there displaying the reality of life. He was silently teaching all the other meditative monks, this is the reality of life. This is the body, the real nature of the body that you are carrying. And he was giving that teaching, but at the same time, he's also giving the opportunity for many people to do good merits and good, wholesome practice. So sometimes that's the way we have to think, if you are really sick and there's no other way you can't control, let it go. And be an opportunity for others to do good. It will be hard. I don't know how to change others, but I think we better focus on ourselves, self-care, right? Focus on ourselves. We will not be upset when we are in that position. We make our mind and that I'm giving opportunity for them, particularly for children. It's a good thing for children, not a bad thing. Yeah.
The last questions from anyone?
I remember when I lived in Singapore for about 3 years, and during that time I got dengue. So I was in Tan Tock Seng Hospital. So during that time, people, had to come every day, and so they visit a few times a day. They bring papaya juice, not juice from the leaves, okay? Not from the fruit. Yeah. So they have been coming every day. So I was thinking, oh, I'm such a burden to all these people. They had to come every day. They had to bring all these things. And so in the first day, I was really feeling bad that maybe I was not careful. I got this dengue, and now I'm a burden to all these people. But then eventually, I think getting sick is a part of our life. That's a reality. Right? One of the things that we have to reflect every day. So later I thought that never mind. Isn't these people are doing this honestly with genuine heart, and they're actually doing a lot of good merits. So let them help me. So I became available for them to help. So at the beginning, it's feeling of being burdened, but you can, you have no control, right? So you can somehow, have a different perspective. So I was there for 4 days in the hospital. And even after I come back, people start prepare special food because I lost a lot of, maybe blood, whatever. So they asked me to eat nutritious food. So people start to bring them. So, but I thought maybe, okay, that's okay. They are doing their own meritorious deeds. So I'm so grateful to them, but I changed my perspective.
Questions, we end tonight's talk. Thank you, Bhante, for the enlightened talk. May we all put our palms together and say sadhu 3 times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. I would like to present a token of appreciation on behalf of Mangala Vihara to Bhante. Okay, now Bhante will do the transfer of merits for all of us.
Okay, I'm so thankful for this invitation, and I really like your participation, your active engagement with the talk. I hope that you remember, even though you remember everything, at least you remember the acrobat simile given by the Buddha. That can guide you, to make your decision. So with that, let us dedicate merits, by coming to this talk and spending this, time focusing on the teachings of the Buddha. We were able to keep our mind free from defilements. At least during this time, most of your time, your mind was free from defilements. It was free from greed, hatred, and delusion. So by maintaining our mind free from those defilements, we have generated so much good merits, good karma, and it is now time that we can share these good merits with everyone else. So let us focus our mind and share these good merits with our departed relatives, our ancestors, our family members, who cared for us so much, who are no more with us today. Let us be grateful and share these merits with them all. May all of our family members, ancestors, departed relatives, and friends and teachers, may they share these merits, may they be benefited from these merits, may they be well, happy, and peaceful wherever they may be. Idang me ñātinang hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. Idang me ñātinang hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. Idang me ñātinang hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. Let us also share these merits with all other living beings. If there's any being who would like to share this merit, may they do so. May all the divine beings share these merits. May all other beings who need of such merits share these merits. May all living beings be well, happy, and peaceful. ittavataca amhihi sambhatang punya sampadam sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya ittavataca amhihi sambhatang punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya ittavataca amhihi sambhatang punya sampadang sabbe sattha anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you very much. I look forward to come again and see you later. So.
Now please put your palms together and we'll send Bhante.
Nice to hear that.